Last week, with the parable of the labourers in the vineyard, the hypocrites and unbelievers in the midst of the church revealed themselves by grumbling. Grumbling about others in the church. Grumbling about others in the church because Christ blessed them with his riches. They didn't like that. They didn't understand grace. And so they grumbled and murmured and complained. Well, this week, in this parable, the hypocrites in the church reveal themselves not with respect to grumbling, but with respect to their work. They didn't do any. Now, I need to add here, of course, this isn't dealing with somebody, for instance, who's seriously sick or disabled, or someone who is very, very young, so can't help out in the way that others can. But this is dealing with somebody who has the ability, natural ability, and time to do work in the kingdom of heaven, and doesn't do any. Doesn't do any. This is the servant who says, Lord, here's your £1, and I've kept it nicely wrapped up in a handkerchief. Here it is. Here it is. Now, last week, we saw that the hypocrites did do work. Remember, they were the ones working for 12 hours in the day, out in the heat. And they revealed themselves as hypocrites because of the motivation for their work. Why? They were doing it with a mercenary spirit in order to earn and put God in their debt. That's one side of it. Here, they reveal themselves from this perspective because they didn't do work in the kingdom of heaven. God entrusted them with his word, gave them a calling in the church, commanded them, occupy till I come. Occupy not meaning in a war, you control this area of the territory. Occupy means be busy, trade, get to work, do something for Christ according to his word. And he just wrapped it up and didn't do anything. That was the problem. And it gets worse. This foolish and wicked servant tries to excuse himself in the parable. Tries to explain why he didn't do anything. Verse 21, I feared thee, because thou art an austere man. You are severe. You collect. You collect where you have no right to collect. You go around reaping with a sickle where you didn't even bother sowing. This shows that the hypocrite in the church who didn't do any work because of what he thought about Jesus Christ. He thought Christ was an austere, hard master, a fearful tyrant, someone who just tells you, do this, do that. And they go, I'm not going to do anything for him. Don't like him. He's always telling me what to do. I don't like what he tells me to do. He comes with these 10 commandments. You've got to go to church. Boring going to church. You've got to start prayer. I hate prayer. You've got to help the other saints. Let them all get stuffed. Why should I do anything for him? All he comes is with his demands. Law upon law. I don't like that. I don't like that. I'm not going to do anything. Attitude to Christ determines what work you do in the church. How much work you do, with what attitude you do it. If you view Christ as a Lord who is a tyrant and not a Lord of grace, who makes us willing and able to serve him and makes it a matter of joy to do something in response to his love for us, then you'll either do it with a bad attitude in order to merit last week's parable, or here, you just do nothing at all. Nothing at all. And the problem lies not even with the fact that you're not working, but the problem lies with what you think about Jesus Christ. That's what Christ said here. What think ye of me? I feared thee. You're a severe Lord. You go around asking too much of people and taking... I don't like that. I'm not going to work for you. Because ultimately that's what it's about in true church of Jesus Christ. You work for the minister, you work for the council, you work for Christ. And if you don't work for Christ, you'll not do much at all, because everybody else has very little claim upon you. But Christ does, because He owns us body and soul. In the parable, the nobleman listens to this. You're a sharp, severe master. He says that to him, to his face. You go around reaping where you didn't sow. And the nobleman, hearing him out, says, out of your own mouth will I judge thee, thou wicked servant. How dare you say that about me? You knew that I was a severe master. Huh? You knew that. And he echoes the man's word. You said this about me. You said that about me. Well, at the very least, you lazy rebel, at the very least, you should have used your head and gone to the bank, invested the money, and then I'd have come back a few years later, and at the very least, I'd have had the interest. But you were so lazy, you thought so little of me, you wouldn't even do that. You would do nothing for me, because though you claim to be one of my servants and the citizen of my kingdom, in heart, you're just as bad as those people who say, we will not have this man to reign over us. Because when you say this about me, and you don't work, that doing that is showing that you won't permit my reign over you. You're really with them. You don't belong with the servants who traded with their pounds and made gains. And so then he says, that servant there with his pound that I gave him, take that pound away from him and give it to the man who has 10 pounds. And the other standing by said, well, that isn't fair. I mean, he's already got 10 pounds. This guy's got only 1 pound. Let him keep it. No. No. He must lose even the pound that he has. And that's what happens to the hypocrites in the church. They lose even what they seem to have. That little bit that people thought they had, that they maybe thought they had. They lose that too. And the parable it's given to the faithful who did work. They did work because they knew who the nobleman was. That the nobleman was a gracious Lord. The nobleman was their king. They were glad to serve him. They were willing subjects of the Lord Christ. Take it. That one parable, that 1 pound, give it to the guy with 10 pounds. And so everyone who has not, even what he has, that will be taken away. And he who has much, he will receive more. And that's the way it is ultimately with the kingdom of heaven. You either have nothing in hell, or you have everything. There isn't any middle ground. It's one or the other. And I say hell deliberately because even though there are 3 groups here, the 2 faithful servants, the unfaithful servant, and the wicked citizen said, we will not have this man to rule. Ultimately, the wicked servant and those who don't want Christ, they're the 2. They're all one group. And you're left with the sheep and the goats, because when Christ comes back, the judgment is made, then everything appears as it really is. Let's be more and more like the faithful servants. Buy and sell and trade, make progress, spread the word of Christ. Amen.